Hi there! In today's video, we are going to go over the differences between the popcorn stitch, the puff stitch, and the bobble stitch. These three are often get mixed up because they're very similar, they're very puffy stitches, but they are different and they can give you different looks for your project, whether that's amigurumi or something else. I personally love them for amigurumi as different texture stitches. So let's get into all of three of them. First, let's go over how to do the popcorn stitch. Now, this one, like all these stitches, is typically done with double crochet. I'm going to be using single crochet because I will use these for amigurumi, and the single crochet versions just work a little bit better, but it's the same concept no matter what stitch you use, whether it's single crochet, half double, or double. So to do the popcorn stitch, you're going to single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to work 3 more single crochet into that same stitch. So a total of 4 stitches in one. So I've removed my hook from the working loop, and now I'm going to insert my hook into the first single crochet that was in that stitch. And I'm inserting my hook from the front to the back because I want the stitch to pop out towards me. If you are working on different sides and you need the stitch to pop out opposite you, then you would insert your hook from the other direction. So I'm going to insert my hook. I'm going to pull the working loop back onto the hook, and then I'm just going to pull this loop. Oops, try that again. I'm going to pull this loop through that first single crochet and then chain 1 to secure it. And that is how you do the popcorn stitch. So one more time, I'm going to spread these out a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to do 4 single crochet into 1 stitch. I'm going to remove my hook from the working loop, insert my hook into the first single crochet of that stitch, put the working loop back on the hook, and pull the loop through the first stitch and chain 1 to secure. And it gives this really interesting, like, bumpy texture because the stitches are compressed right here. Now, technically, you can work popcorn stitches with more or less stitches inside them. So for example, I'm going to do this one with 5 single crochet in a stitch. And then again, I'm going to go back into the very first stitch, grab the working loop, and pull it through, and chain 1 to secure. Now, the main difference is this popcorn stitch is bigger because there's more single crochet in it. So you can kind of mess around with the size. If you want the stitch to be really subtle, you could do, just 3 single crochet into a stitch. But that is how you're going to work the popcorn stitch. Okay, so I've done a few more rows on our little swatch here. Now let's talk about the puff stitch. The main thing behind puff stitches is that we're going to be creating a lot of loops and working into those loops. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And you want to make sure you're pulling your loops up to a little bit above your row height. Then we're going to yarn over again, go back into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and I'm going to repeat that 2 more times. So I've got a total of 9 loops on my hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 9 loops and then chain 1 to secure. Then you would just work a single crochet into the next stitch. And you can kind of push the puff stitch out in the direction that you need it to be, whether that's towards you or towards the back of your work. This one is less dependent on where you place your hook because you can easily push it forward or backward. That's how you do the puff stitch. And again, this one is very customizable. You can do as many loops as you want, and as few loops as you want. For example, I'll do one with only let's do 5 loops on the hook. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then I'll just do it one more time so that we've got 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through, and chain 1 to secure. So in this case, the puff stitch is really small and it would be very subtle. And you can use the different size puff stitches to create kind of an illusion of different details. Whereas a larger puff stitch could be like a nostril for an animal,
A smaller one could be just a little scale texture or possibly a feather. Yeah, the possibilities are pretty endless. So let's do one more time. I'm going to do a bigger puff stitch this time. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Much more than that. It's a little bit hard to work into. So yarn over, pull through all the loops, and chain one to secure. And there you have it. That is the puff stitch. Lastly, let's talk about the bobble stitch. Now, this one is a bit different than both the popcorn and the puff stitches. And that is because you have to kind of change up how you do it depending on what basic stitch you're using. So let's start with single crochet. So I'll insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through one loop on the hook, chain one essentially. Then we're going to go back into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, chain one. And you repeat that the given number of times depending on the pattern you're working. I'm going to do it 2 more times. So now I've got 5 loops on my hook. Then I'll yarn over and pull through all 5. And then you would just single crochet into the next stitch. And similar to the puff stitch, you kind of poke this one out on the side that you want it to be on. So I'm kind of pushing it towards me. So the bobble stitch is really just making several half finished stitches before you get to the end. So for the single crochet, we were doing a partial single crochet 5 times before we got to pull through all the loops. So let's take a look at what it looks like if we do it with double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook. So in order to finish the double crochet, I would yarn over and pull through, but we're going to skip that part. And we're going to go back into the same stitch. And again, only pull through 2 loops. So I'm going to do that 2 more times. And similar to the puff stitch and the popcorn, you can do this as many times as you want. The more stitches you cram into this one stitch, the bigger the bobble will be, or you could do fewer and have a smaller bobble. So yarn over, pull through all the loops on the hook, and then you just single crochet into the next stitch. So the main difference with the bobble stitch is that it is going to definitely be more noticeable and taller if you're using double crochet or otherwise taller stitches. But if you want something a little bit more subtle, single crochets will work just fine. You can even do treble crochet if you really wanted this to be a very, very tall bobble stitch. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you would repeat those steps for the given number of times that you want for how big your bobble is going to be. So again, I'll do it 2 more times. Oops. And then yarn over and pull through all the loops. And as you can see, this one is the biggest bobble of them all. These stitches are great for amigurumi texture, and they can be used for lots of different things. Now, I really like the popcorn stitch for things that need kind of a slightly sharper angle on them, like if you're going for like spikes. The popcorn stitch is really nice for that. My popcorn pumpkin pattern, this one is free on my blog. It will be getting updated later this fall, but the pattern itself isn't really changing. I'm just adding some new photos and fixing up the wording a little bit. So if you want to check out this pattern, it is available for free. I'll have it linked in the description box below. And here's an example of puff stitches being used as toes for Pascal the pangolin. And these little puff stitches work great as toes because they just give a little bit of definition to what would be just kind of an otherwise really boring shape. So that's another way that you can use these stitches. The only one I'm personally not a big fan of is the bobble stitch. I don't use it very often, but depending on your preferences, you may like it better than, say, the puff stitch. So these two, I think, are a little bit more interchangeable looks-wise. So you can definitely do whatever your preference is. Another thing to note is that If you want the back of your work to look pretty seamless, the popcorn stitch is good for that, and so is the bobble stitch, depending on how big you make it. But the puff stitch will leave a mark on the back. You can definitely tell where the puffs are.
I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, it would be amazing if you would consider liking and subscribing. I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers, so I'm pretty excited about that. As always, a huge thank you to my supporters over on Ko-Fi, and I'll see y'all next time. Have a great day. Bye.